Welcome back to another episode of Little Pop Stars Podcast. Um, where am I? And why am I not in this episode? Well, I guess you guys can just watch Tanner and our special guest, Nate Owen. Let's get it rolling.
I guess we're back with another episode. Tanner, Sydney, welcome to our show.
So I'm Nate Owen. I'm originally from Idaho, like very far north. Like I grew up literally in the woods, like an hour from Canada. So very cold, very small town, very rural. Um, I remember early on, I had a lot of issues, like kind of fitting into school. I had a lot of, like I got in a lot of fights. I was not very And I think now I have the understanding a lot of it was because I was struggling to understand my like sexual identity. It was a very
Yeah,
conservative town. But music always was like the one place where I felt comfortable and around people who I did gel with. Um, and I think that's like a common story for a lot of queer people in general. But my
right.
sister
Yeah.
joined choir in like middle school, I think. She always like grew up playing violin and piano. And like I tried to play I took piano lessons, but I just like did not have the patience for it. Um and I took some singing stuff, but it wasn't until my sister joined choir that I think I got jealous of her or something. Because like she
Yeah.
would go on these trips and like my parents were really proud of her. So like part of me wanted to just like try it. And then yeah, choir was always like this outlet for me. And at the same time I was always like into writing. So
hmm
I was writing like little stories to myself or poems. And I think when I started singing, I was like, oh, I can combine these things. So that's kind of my immediate like start point for my music. And then I spent a lot of years like kind of doing classical music as a way, especially as a way to like get out of Idaho through like scholarships and stuff. And then that's how I came to LA. But I always wanted to pursue my songwriting.
hmm
And Yeah, I would say like ultimately my songs always seem to have some sort of like a very narrative element and are more in the pop genre. I'm a guitarist, so I always like to have a guitar, acoustic guitar, or electric guitar, and I think that that's kind of the landing point I'm arriving at now with my songwriting.
Yeah, nice. And before we kind of dig a little deeper into your music, we do have this little thing. Usually my sister does it, but she's not here today. But anyways, it's called a little pop quiz where it's just gonna be a few quick questions
Okay.
to kind of get to know you a bit.
A little pop quiz. A little pop quiz.
So, what is the first concert you went to?
I think it was like the Spokane Symphony classical concert when I was like 6 or 7. It was like this pianist. I remember this pianist. It was like, do you know who like Lang Lang is? It was like that kind of vibe where it's like
Okay.
they cross over. They're like a classical pianist, but then they do like pop and jazz and stuff. So I think that
Nice.
was like my earliest memory was like seeing a big orchestra on stage. And I remember as a kid, I was like pretending to play along. I thought it was
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
Nice. And unrelated to music, but what is your favorite candy?
Hmm. I'd say Swedish Fish.
Okay, nice.
A classic.
What's your favorite music genre?
Hip hop.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what's the last album you listened to?
The most recent one, literally, I was re-listening to Control, like SZA's Control, while I was
Nice.
showering the other night, and I was like, damn, I forgot how good this was. I
Good stuff.
was like, I want to be a normal girl too. Yeah.
And where is one dream place you would love to perform at?
Okay, yo, this is totally recent, but do you know the DJ Anima? He's like, I think he's the resident DJ for Coachella this year.
Okay.
but he's like this, he's been around forever. He's like this really cool DJ, and I saw a friend of mine went to see him at the Pyramids of Giza. I mean, I'm sure it was a part of like a larger concert, but it was
Mm-hmm.
like him, there's a stage and then the pyramids behind him. And I was just like, that is so cool. Like that is insane.
That,
So that was cool. Or I remember Pink Floyd did the Pompeii show in like the Pompeii Coliseum. That would be dope.
wow.
Some
Yeah.
historical ancient Coliseum
Yeah.
would be sick. So
Wow. Yeah, those are very interesting locations to perform at.
yeah, I don't
Um,
know why I've always been like into archaeology. Like I remember as a kid, I was like, I want to be an archaeologist. And then I think I learned how much they have to like be in hot weather and dig in dirt. And I was like, yeah, maybe
yeah, it does sound quite,
laborious.
quite, yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So that's the end of the pop quiz. So now we'll just kind of talk a little bit deeper about your music and stuff. Did you study music after like high school?
Yeah, so I went to University of Idaho to study voice. And I went because I was lucky that my state school had like a good teacher that I connected with. And then he helped me like I was studying classical music and I like barely knew how to read music. So it was kind of tough for me because I spent most of my musical journey before then like writing and performing. Like I had a little band in high school and we even opened up for Wilco at one point, which is cool with like
Oh,
my song.
wow.
But I just was like, I'm not at 18, I don't think I was like ready to like, I'm gonna move to LA, you know. Part of me is still like, maybe I should have, but whatever, we're here now. So yeah, I studied like singing, and then I did eventually go to USC to do my master's in voice. But I always kind of viewed it as like I just like loved the craft of music and stuff, and I was just so fascinated by
Hmm.
um all of that. I played jazz guitar in jazz bands. I would sing for jazz bands. I was also like a musical theater, I've done several operas. Um, so it was mostly opera for my education and like classical art music. Um, but even the whole time, all my professors knew I wasn't like trying to move to New York and sing for the Met. Like that's just not who I am. I've always been like a songwriter, but for me, it was like a good mechanism to like I love school. I like learning. It was a good way to keep learning and then also find a way to get to LA and have maybe like arrive with some purpose, you know, through like school and stuff. So
Yeah. And as you've kind of made music in different ways, like you said, you had like a band and then in school and then now kind of on your own, how has your, I know you've always like had a passion for music, but how has like your goals, I guess, changed when it comes to making music?
yeah, I think my ultimate goals, like my long-term visions for myself, have not changed since I was like a little kid. Like I've always wanted to be a recording artist. I've always wanted to, you know, write my own songs, perform my own songs. If anything, my passion for music has deepened. Especially like now that I'm not in school, I'm not being forced to like make music. No, you know, um,
Right.
but it's almost like it's like a reflex for me. Like I have to do it like every day. Um,
Hmm.
and it's ironically not the music part that's hard. It's the other elements of trying to be an artist, you know? And that's why like when I got into more filmic shooting and like edit, you know, because those videos, like I shot all of that, I edited all that. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm like really into the visual art and medium. And I think that's why I've made so many music videos, even for things that, you know, like while I'm still developing, because I've always like viewed music as and video and like as like they can go together so well. So I think the only thing that's really changed is just my commitment to like total art and like making um the visual elements to accompany my music, like to make those really also be meaningful and thought out and stuff. And then the other thing is one of the goals has always been like I want to I want to like really solidify myself and my genre and like what kind of stories I want to tell. And I feel like in the last year I've been working on my workflow for like how to create music, how I record it, how I edit it, how I put it out. And I'm now kind of entering a phase where I'm trying to release like, every 6 to 8 weeks, like a new song. Um,
Hmm.
so that took a while to workshop that skill because I was working with other people in the past and they just cost a lot of money and like I would like have them mix my music or produce something and they just fuck it up. And like with peace and
Hmm.
love, sometimes it's hard to um I think we all have different ways of working. I think for me, I like to be alone in a room with myself and my microphone. And I just had to increase my skill of recording myself to get my music to where it needed to be. And so now I'm kind of entering that era.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can imagine it would be hard, like if you do have such a clear vision with your music and then trying to have a producer make that. I can see how it would be a little more, I
Yeah,
guess,
and
cohesive to do it yourself.
and that's the thing, like I had a friend of mine who they used to work in like the music industry like pretty intensely and at like a high level. So this is somebody I like really would trust their opinion. And they told me like, Nate, you can't afford the producers that are going to care more than you about your, because like a lot of music making is like editing and
Hmm.
doing things over and over again. Like, oh, I gotta re-record this. And it's like a lot of laborious work where you're like, it's like editing a YouTube video. It takes forever, you know? Um, and people cost money. And yeah, when they told me that, I was like, that's kind of a good point. And that was what I was experiencing. I was like, and it's not anybody's fault. It's just like, yeah, nobody's gonna edit my vocals for 8 hours for free. Like, that's just not, what, but I will,
Yeah, right.
and I think that's like a piece of the music world. I think a lot of people don't like think about, but when you see these TikTokers or all these like indie artists, like so much of them just spend half their day in front of their computer, like editing shit.
Yeah.
And like that is just a lot of time and money. And I think that's why a lot of artists are starting to just do it themselves because of that.
Yeah,
You know,
that makes sense.
and to be fair, that's going to have its challenges. Like when you're making your own stuff and you don't have that third party opinion all the time. I mean, I have some trusted people I bounce ideas off of, but you run the risk of like not maybe catching things that, or you make creative decisions that maybe aren't as commercially viable or whatever.
Hmm.
I'm like kind of willing to slug through that and like make those mistakes if it means that I feel more like when I put something out, I'm like, this is as good as this is like what I had in my head.
Yeah.
Um, Even if it's not like as perfect as I could have maybe if I hired another mix engineer, but like if it means that I got 90% there, 80% there of like what's in my head, I think to me that's worth it. And that's like the era I'm entering now where like I feel like my music is finally like this is start to finish something I really wanted. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Has earlier on making music, is that something that was a little more challenging to like when you put it out, wanting it to be more perfect?
Yeah, I think I'm very like I've always been very like in like techie like I as a kid I would like build gaming computers and like so I'm very like detail oriented and I love and I've always had an eye for like wanting things to be high quality. So I'd like listen to like some you listen to your favorite artist's album and you're just like the sound fidelity and like the depth of everything is so incredible. And I think like I was trying to achieve that. And, I now have the wisdom to realize like that kind of is a sum of its parts. Like, if
Hmm.
you want to sound like SZA's Control, like you need to write really good music. It's all about the writing and the arrangement and the sounds you pick. And it's like the first step of the song, you have to already be thinking about the final product. Like every time you add an element, you have to think about how is that going to affect the timbre and the mixture of everything. Um, and I think it just took me a long time to understand that, especially coming out of performance, like live performance practice, like singing with orchestras and stuff. Like an orchestra is already like they spend 400 or 500 years figuring out the balance of instruments and what plays what when so that they don't step on each other. In pop music, like that is something you have to understand from a different standpoint, and it takes time to learn that skill.
Yeah.
So I think that that was kind of my, yeah, my challenge there. What was your
Yeah.
question?
I can't remember, but I liked everything you said. Both producing and writing. Um, is that like, so do you write the actual music first or the lyrics first, or does it kind of vary?
I think it varies. I I used to always write with voice and guitar, and then I felt limited because I was like listening to like a lot of Mac Miller or a lot of like for some reason I really love hip hop. I'm not a hip hop artist, but I
Hmm.
think it's because of the lyrical content. Like I've always it's like I love Joni Mitchell, Neil Young, Bob Dylan, and Kendrick Lamar, and like Mac Miller, like all these lyricists.
Yeah,
I like listening to their music and hip hop. A lot of times the music is there, and then you kind of lay on top of it, right? You have a beat
right.
man, right? So I kind of was like for a while experimenting with that side of creation, but I don't think if I go that way 100%, it lands 100 like as well. So lately I've been doing like a hybrid thing where I'll try to always have like a chord progression that I can actually play live, either on guitar or keys or piano or whatever, and then I'll try to write um, to a progression either with my guitar, with the piano. I try to write by hand still because otherwise I will forget how to write because like I feel like we don't write anymore. So it's good to
Yeah.
write in a notebook. It also helps me memorize things better. But the other thing is like it slows you down, you know. Uh,
Hmm.
so I'll try to hybrid that where and then I'll like have the outline and then I'll go into the DAW or the computer and I'll try to like chunk things out and change the tempo, shorten it, lengthen it, double this, reduce this, and just really like before I even do production, like really outline everything like you're writing an essay. Because I find that like t it just saves you so much creative juice when you try to remove those roadblocks that like if you choose the wrong key or the wrong tempo to like try to undo that halfway through a production is just like really a pain in the ass. So I've learned through a lot of my mentors recently to focus on that. And that has been part of my process. So lately I've been trying to be like, okay, I'm gonna pick up my guitar, I'm gonna pick the key, I'm gonna pick the tempo, and then I'm gonna like I have a story in my head or a feeling, and then I start there, um, and then I kind of just keep circling around it for until it kind of finishes itself. Usually, you know, spend an hour in the evening, and then I'll be writing, and I'll be like, oh, it's done, I finished. I wrote the second verse, and then I wrote the bridge. We're good. You know, I already had the chorus and the pre-chorus of this thing I wrote a couple weeks ago, and then I just try to organize it like that. So, you know, John Mayer was like. I mean, I'm not 100% prescribed to this. I don't think every song you should be able to play with a voice and guitar. Like his
Hmm.
whole, like a lot of people are like, if you can't play it with voice and guitar, it's not a good song. And I'm like, that to me is antiquated thinking. Like, like once again, I come from the classical music world. Like most of that stuff you can't play without 20 instruments.
Right.
And it strip it down to just voice and guitar would be boring and lame. So
Yeah.
that's how pop music is. Like a lot of this stuff, you have to augment it with electronic sounds and sound effects, and that's why I like it. It's like you're like actually in like a cool territory. So yeah, I like it's nice to be able to play it with voice and guitar, but ultimately I find that a little boring, to be honest. Um,
Yeah.
so but that's just me. I think it
Yeah.
lends itself to like making your life easier in the beginning stages, and then if you ever need to play it live and you don't have a band or you don't have a like electronic kit set up, then it can be easier. But like even then, like a lot of my songs, yes, I can play them with voice and guitar, but it's like that's not the vision I had. I
Hmm.
prefer to have a band and like you know have somebody have the samples that I use, like and be able to, like I remember in Mac Miller's Tiny Desk, he had the live kit, he had Thundercat on the bass, got somebody on keys, the guitar, and then the guy also had the samples from the original song, like setting off those like sounds from the Ableton session or whatever. And then he also brought in string players. Like that would be my beautiful
Hmm.
melding of everything, where it's like human players and then any element that like I makes a song iconic that's like a sound effect, you still want to bring that original sound in. That's what like
Yeah.
Doja Cat does and like all these like kind of hip hop artists adjacent. They like they have a live band play all the cool stuff and then it's like different enough and vibey enough, but then they have all the original elements still where it's like still sounds like the record. And that to me is like the ultimate way to do it for me. But it requires money and lots of people.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
we're here. We're here. We're trying.
When you are like making a song, how many, I'm sure it varies, but like, what would you say is like the average amount of layers you have of different instruments and voices and stuff?
Yeah, I think my go-to lately I've been trying to remove layers,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually great because it makes I'm learning like to just be more intentional from the beginning. So I'm actually having to delete less stuff in general.
Yeah.
Like I finished a couple songs that I wrote years ago, and I pulled up the sessions, and I'm like redoing stuff, and I'm like, God, there's too much shit in this. Like it's making my life way too hard. And if you listen to like I was thinking about Painted That Town Red, there's like four things happening at all times, and that song has like 1.5 billion streams. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
there's like a million examples of that. A good arrangement, a good vocal, a good story, like that's all you need. I'm trying to like really not be minimal, but just be like very intentional. But one of the things I always do is like I love playing as much of it as possible live. Like I don't do a lot of MIDI, even though that would make my life easier. I could correct it after the fact, but even like my bass sounds, my synth sounds, I have a synth. I play all of that. I play all the guitar. I record all the vocals and I try not to melodyne or like edit the vocals too much because like I don't like doing that. It takes too much time. So I'll record it and practice it so that I can like try to get it as basically perfect as possible. And then yeah, if I have to like fix one tiny thing or cut out a breath, that's you're always gonna have to do that for pop. But I just
Mm-hmm.
like hate editing. Like I'm at a point where I'm like, I just hate the laboriousness of editing. So I try
Yeah.
to like literally just play everything basically as perfect as possible. And that has actually like been really exciting for me because it like forces me to actually keep getting better at these instruments and like so yeah, with like guitar I always want to have like an acoustic guitar or an electric guitar, and I usually double the part where I'm playing the same part in tandem, and then I put it on the left speaker and the right speaker, and it kind of creates this cool width to it. So yeah, I usually always have like a guitar, and if it's not a guitar, it's a piano. If it's not a piano, it's a synth, and then I always like to have really low bass, and I think it's like my hip hop love of hip hop. Like I love really low rumbly bass, and and then drums. Like I don't know, like drums are tough. Drums are hard. Um,
Yeah.
they the thing about drums I find is like every song is gonna need a different. It's like you'll never like figure out drums. Like I don't think that's possible. I think you always have to almost start from scratch with everything. So yeah, that's kind of my process. And like yeah, I like to play things not because I'm like proud or anything. I don't think there's anything. It's just like for me, it's more fun to try to like play the bass line, you
Yeah.
know, like on my synth. And then like I have to commit to it. I can't like I'd have to go back and re-record it if I don't like it. And that
Mm-hmm.
forces in the moment make more decisions. So yeah.
And with drums, I mean, I feel like there are times in some songs where it's almost like too distracting. Is that kind of what the challenge is sometimes with the drums?
Yeah, like I'm learning that drums are way more simple than I realized,
Mm-hmm.
especially in modern pop. I'm noticing this, like people forget that the whole point of a song is to elevate the vocalist. There's a lot of people who are like more interested in making cool sounds and making shit sound cool than like elevating the story or the music. And like every artist I love, I go back, I listen to the like I was like if you listen to Missy Elliott, there's like a one and a two and like a background ooh, and then she's like rapping. And it's like four elements, five elements. Like all these like great records and like all these artists I love, there's not a lot happening, but it's their voice that carries it forward,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so like the drums have to serve the voice. They have to act as a narrative tool.
Right.
And so yeah, the challenge of drums is like, and that's the thing, I'm susceptible because when you produce your own stuff, you're susceptible to trying to do too much. I'm always like, oh my something's missing. Let me add more cool drum effects. And then I realize I'm like, no, the problem is the melody I wrote isn't that cool. I got to redo that. And nobody like wants to do that because then you're admitting that what you wrote is not that exciting. But sometimes that's what you got to do. And then usually
Yeah.
once I fix that, I'm like, oh, I don't need to change the drums. Just one and
Mm-hmm.
two, like boom, slap, and it's good. And then a hi-hat, whatever. So yeah, I think drums are like very, I think the challenge of drums is the timbre of it, the sound of it. Like you have to choose the right snare so that it doesn't step on other elements. But the thing is, like, it's all about elevating the voice. And if you're going to elevate the voice and like make that the center, that means it actually has to be good. And that's the challenge because like sounding and singing something interesting and having something to say is like it's hard to do that, you know? And that's like Conan Gray behind you. Like Dan
Yeah.
Nigro produced so many of his albums. He produced Olivia Rodrigo's albums. That guy's like the master of being like, I'm gonna just like lay out when they're singing and then like have all these cool, beautiful accented elements to blend to marry the song together. Like that is to me
Right.
the pinnacle of like a good production. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Drums
Yeah.
are they're tricky. Yeah.
Yeah. And when it comes to like when you're songwriting, I know like a lot of your videos, although they're kind of not directly related to your songs, I know there's a lot of like similar themes there. Do you find yourself sometimes like writing, I don't know if you write like a script for your videos, and then I don't know if like, is it sometimes the videos inspire songs or vice versa?
Yeah, I would say it goes in both directions. Um, like lately, to be honest, the world is going through it right now,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been hard for me to like, yeah, I've been like, what do I have to say? You know, like what's so, you know, and so I have been struggling to honestly come up with ideas. But I think what I've been trying to lean on more is like the music and the story of the music, safe space. And it's about like these childhood like moments and figments of memory of like we're sitting in the hallway. It's like this crush I had when I was a kid, and you don't understand those feelings. And then,
Mm-hmm.
like kind of the shame that can accompany like gay identity, especially when you're a kid and you don't understand what those feelings mean. And you don't
Mm-hmm.
have any reference point. There's no gay people around you, you know?
Right.
There's no normalcy of that. So you just think something's wrong with you. I have a story I'm working on where I'm talking about that, and I'm talking about the direct meaning of like where this song came from. And then the other direction is yeah, I've tried to write scripts talking about things that maybe I couldn't really fit into a song exactly because they're very, maybe it's just enough information for a short 20, 30-second clip, but not a whole song, you know? And I think that that is something I'm discovering goes both ways. Um, but to be quite honest, the scripts and the music I think are kind of inseparable, like the story videos and the music, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like learning more and more to accept that. Um, that like my journey as an artist is like it's never going to be just 100% music. It's going to like
Yeah.
I think part of my vibe and like what I like about me is like I like to tell like a story in the spoken word format. And I think that that's why like those story videos have been like really liberating for me. So I definitely plan on getting back into those and they will definitely link to the music and they
Mm-hmm. Is that something that you always kind of have been making or had an idea you wanted to make those types of videos, or is that something that came later on as you wanted to give some more context to your music?
yeah, like that was after I got out of school. I was like, I need to find ways to, put myself out there and talk about like who I am and the thing about music as a musician, like you post music online of you performing, like most of the time people don't care because music is a very intimate thing and
Mm-hmm.
it's like one of the hardest things to promote is music because it's like these apps like they don't want you to leave the app. So a lot of times the algorithm's working against you. B, like a lot of my friends who are also queer and who make content or whatever, like the algorithms are not like I don't know, ever since Trump got elected, the algorithms have been very not great for gay content. Now I don't know if
Yeah.
that's a coincidence. I think there's something there, but whatever. So like a lot of stuff just isn't getting out there the way it maybe did before. But at the time, I was just like trying to, I was singing in front of a camera and doing all that. And like, I just like felt like it was kind of lackluster for me. It was like, this is boring and not fulfilling. Um, and even now when I try to sing in front of a camera, I'm like trying to do like something artistic or have a cool shot or color it a certain way or
Hmm.
do it live and then mix it in a way that sounds like a cool, unique thing. Where it's like effort, even though I know, like, hey, if it's just me singing the song and a cool shot, like I posted, like me on my chair singing a little bit of safe space, and like, yeah, I know it's not gonna get a million views, but like for me, it's important to like just show that side of my creativity, and then um, the videos that actually did well were those story videos, and I think I just came upon it accidentally. I think
Hmm.
I had a friend who worked in social media and we were working together for a short bit and I think I tried that and then it kind of like worked. Um, like people resonated with it. Because I think I was just being like a very like talking about things that are kind of awkward for a lot of
Yeah.
people. I think a lot of the times, like especially with gay people, people are like, "Oh my God, that how you like with gay trauma." It's like, "Oh my God, that was 10 years ago. You live in a city now. It's fine. Move on." But
Yeah.
I don't think that's how the human mind works. I think we pretty much are traumatized as kids, and that affects us forever until we die. So I think
Definitely.
this idea of like, oh, just move on. It's like, well, it's not really how we are. I've had even people tell me like stop talking about gay stuff all the time. Like a concerning amount of people, to be honest.
Yeah.
And my answer to that, and I always like, I'm like, am I talking too much about it? But I'm like, it was like 20, I was in closet for until I was 25. Like, yeah, that's like
Right.
most of my life. And then the other thing is like there's like countries that are now banning. I mean, didn't Italy just basically make it highly illegal for gay people to have surrogate babies? Like, you know what I mean? It's like there's
Yeah.
countries that are literally we're going backwards hardcore,
Right.
especially against trans people. But trans people are being like targeted in ways that is just absurd. And I think as gay, as a gay person, we have to stand up to this kind of shit. And so I think the only way for me is like just make people aware. Like you have to
Yeah.
just keep talking about it because there's people who need to see those kind of things and see people who are artists who are gay. And then there's
Right.
also like a lot of haters out there that are now being bolstered by the political situation we're in. So I think it's like more motivating now for me to be like I've like literally I was just recently not invited to a childhood friend's wedding. Like I've known him since third grade because one time in a story I mentioned like when I go back home, a part of me goes back into the closet, and he took that so personally, and I'm like, imagine being so frail in your own sense of like guilt that me talking about this very personal thing that has nothing to do with you really offends you
Hmm.
to the point where you think I'm shit talking you and then you don't invite me to your wedding. Like it's just insane.
That's crazy.
So yeah, like I've lost so many friends because of these story videos. Pretty much
Yeah.
all of my friends from back home, from Idaho. So it's a bummer. And
Yeah.
but I'm just like that's just, it's just life. I gotta talk about my experiences. Like I
Yeah.
said, safe space to I'm not gonna say who, but a family member, and they're like, "Can you just like stop writing about gay shit all the time?" And I'm like, "Wow, thanks." Because like I'm like, this song sounds dope. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. And it's very catchy regardless of the content, but it's also not that like nothing's explicit. It's about
Right. Yeah.
talking about me being a kid, feeling like an outcast in the hallway and like fantasizing about a crush or whatever. And then yeah, so yeah, that's my rant about social media and these
Yeah.
videos. I think it's kind of like bolstered me more to be less shy about these videos moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is obviously unfortunate that so many people don't like that content, but there is many like myself that have, seen your videos and your songs and been able to connect with them. And I think I'm sure there's many people that have seen your videos that you haven't interacted with that have it's meant a lot to them.
Yeah. I appreciate that. And that's the thing, like, you know, I live a very good life. Currently, I get to make music. I live in LA, I live a very good life. So it's never like these videos are never like, woe is me, but I think it's also like I'm not gonna deny myself the processing
Yeah,
of it,
definitely.
you know? Like with my music video Do It Again, like it took place with I got drag queens and put them in a church, and I'm like, I grew up in a church. Like I grew up with a lot of these Christian sensibilities and these things that can lead to a lot of internalized homophobia and shame. And I think I'm like, no, I'm not going to shy away from that part of my life. Like, no, we're going to put drag queens in a church. Like, we're
Yeah.
going to, and it's going to have meaning and it's going to show that, um, recontextualizing what queer acceptance can look like in different spaces. And like, I think, it's like somebody's got to do something. And every queer artist, I feel like, is doing it in a different way. There's
Hmm.
room for everybody, you know? Um, like a Troye Sivan, he had his blue, what was it called? His first like video project where he explored his childhood queer experiences, and he had like a whole three-part film music video. I forget
Yeah.
what it's called. Blue something. What was it?
Blue Neighborhood.
Blue Neighborhood. There we go. And like Blue Neighborhood. So everybody's gonna do it in a different way, and and that's the beauty of the the gay and queer and LGBT communities. Like we all kind of have this shared sense of understanding of these external forces against us, but we're able to like kind of come together, and even if we have very different backgrounds and connect. So
Yeah.
I think that's like my more recent epiphany is like I'm just going to continue to dig into that, even if it's hard emotionally, because yeah, it is a little disconcerting how many people are like in my personal life.
Hmm.
We're no longer here because they are uncomfortable by it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like whatever.
Yeah.
Haters are gonna hate, bro.
They are. Um, with is like the visuals, is that something you more so when it comes to like a music video, do you usually see your songs like pretty visually?
Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't know. I've always like really loved movies and film. I would never want to work in film.
Yeah.
Um, to be honest, it's not like I've explored like getting into sound design for film or film scoring, but it's just not for me. Film is it's like a whole medium. Like we all have our callings, and for me, it's music, like pop music and songwriting.
Yeah.
Um, but I've always loved the aesthetic of film, and I've never been good at drawing. But then when I got a camera to like make better quality videos, I was like, oh, I have a good eye for like videography,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
and stuff. So I was like, it was just another creative outlet that I really enjoyed. And then the cool thing about video is you can color it. Like a lot of the fun part of shooting video is like you're shooting it, but then you're thinking about how can I like color it and make it look like a dream or make it look like a memory. And so when I think of these vi music video ideas, I'm always thinking of it as like what would the color and the feel and the temperature of the shot look like. I always collaborate with people who are, better at solidifying the actual ideas, but the aesthetics and the general vibe I always have kind of in my head before. Yeah. So, like with Sunshine, I had my original song that like is still up because I've released a lot of music, removed it because I felt like it wasn't cooked well enough, you know. But
Yeah.
Sunshine, like that music video took place with like skaters in a desert and like these two young boys waking up as adults. They fall asleep in this water park and they wake up as adults and then they deteriorate with age and die. Like that was my friend Vasi, uh, who came up with that idea. Um, but like we both had the aesthetics in our mind of like we need like a Super 8 film for the memory, and then for the present, we're gonna have this kind of like very clean but like warm sunshine desert look, you know? So yeah, I think the video part of creation is always like I think a thing that really I've always been drawn to ever since I discovered it. Yeah.
Yeah. Has the size of like your crew changed or has it primarily been pretty small?
It's weird. It used to be bigger and I've fired everybody.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had a wake up call on the lot. I mean, like my music is real. Like I keep dating these psychopathic narcissists who like take my money and okay, I don't want to get
Yeah.
too anyways, but like, we all have, I think we all have things and insecurities that we that we have that lead us to make decisions that maybe aren't the best for us. And I've noticed in the last two, like especially with my music and being out of school, I've draw narcissists are drawn to me, like people who want to like kind of suck the life out of me a little bit. And
Hmm.
I had an epiphany. This was my sister-in-law actually. I had an epiphany where I was like, where she was pointing out like what was kind of going on. Where like I remember I played a song I was working on to her, and she was like, Nate, with peace and love, this is trash. And I was like super stoked, but I was like being gaslit into it being good. And mind you, the song took like a year to get to that point. I'm like, no song
Oh,
should be
wow.
1 year. That's ridiculous. So then I
Yeah.
had an epiphany where I'm like, oh my God, these people who I'm working with are not good. They're not good. And they're like, fuck, they're trying to make me into something I'm not. And that's not sustainable. And it's like, they're not even a big label. So they don't even got no money. So I'm like, you're gonna make me into something I'm not, and like make me like kind of alter my music to fit some brand you're trying to build. But then you're not even rich and giving me $1 million cash loan advance. Like, what the
Yeah.
hell? So I was like, if I'm gonna like, you know, go through that pain of modifying my art to, at that point, you might as well be, signed to Atlantic or something. But here
Yeah.
I'm independent, so I'm like, this makes no sense. And I'm paying you. What the fuck? So then I
Yeah.
realized I'm like, no, I have all of the skills and brain to I can do this myself. And I'm gonna do
Yeah.
this myself and really create a baseline of what is Nate Owen as an artist, what is his songs, and then yeah, like that's where I'm at now. So that's kind of like I'm now emerging out of that. But no, yeah, my crew has shrunk. I think we get in this idea that the more people you have around you, it like makes you feel more legitimate. But I actually find that a lot of the times those people just kind of waste your time
Yes.
because especially when they're like long distance, like a lot of them weren't even in LA. So I'm like, what's the point of that?
Yeah.
And once again, we arrive at I can't afford the people in LA that I want to work with. So I'm kind of like, well, gotta do it myself.
Right. Yeah.
And I am doing that. And I think the work will speak for itself, as time goes on. And, the beauty of music is not everything is for everyone, and not every song is going to be like a hit, but you just got to keep chugging along.
Yeah.
Like some of my favorite artists, like, spent 15 years. I don't want that for me, but like Sia didn't blow up until she was like 40.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
it's like you just got to keep chugging along. That's where I'm at. So to answer your question, to be frank, no, I've had to cut back on people because life is short.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned that you have the new song.
It's called Safe Space. It's I think the second song that I've completely done myself. So we had Patricia, which was like a story of basically the guy who was dating who had a crazy he would drink and have an alter ego and call it Patricia, and then that like really turned me off because I'm like, I don't know, bro.
That'll
You're
do it.
you're like
Yeah.
28. I don't know if you should be having a drunken alter ego. So let's, it was like too much. And so then I wrote that song, which is shady as hell. I mean, should we be, whatever. I had to let it out.
Yeah, you
Not trying to
gotta.
be a hater, but it is a funny story. And then Safe Space, I wrote like a couple years ago, and I finally just finished it. And so this song has a lot of elements from who I was a year or two ago as a songwriter, and I'm very happy with how it turned out. I'm glad I could get it to where it is, and um, it's like a little bit more upbeat. And then after that, I'm gonna release a song called Serotonin, which is kind of like a lot more orientated towards like some Mac Miller vibes and pop combo. So I'm
Okay.
exploring and like kind of moving towards my sound.
Yeah.
Each release is going to kind of outline more and more of that. And See You like was like I think the first song that I was like this quality and this array, you know, that song really resonated with me as like as something. And so I just want to continue building off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. That song is often in my shuffle of songs, often comes up. Very
I
good
love
stuff.
that. I'm very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
And that song is like very meaningful to me. It's about the place I would go with my, first real boyfriend, which, that fucks you up when you have your first heartbreak, like a real heartbreak. By the third or fourth, you're like, meh. No, I'm just kidding. That's where I'm at now. I'm like, oh God, my heart needs some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm
Um,
excited to see where the music goes and continue storytelling and survive this current moment of history we're in. We're in some crazy times, but I think art is always important, and just we as an artist, I just got to remind myself that art's good.
yeah,
We need music, so I'll just keep going.
definitely. Yeah. Is there anything else about your music and any kind of projects that you wanted to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, so with Do It Again, I'm doing like a redux. So the music video is gonna stay the same, but I'm working on reduxing, like redoing the song basically to like,
Okay.
as I felt like right as I was finishing that song, my skills were, because that was like the first song I was really kind of working on my own. And don't get me wrong, I think it sounds great and I'm very proud of where it is. But I think like the new skills I've had like as an artist, I think art is no longer like you finish it and it's done. You just put it in a drawer. I think a lot of the times songs blow up years later, or you redo something, or it's kind of like remastering. It's like that happens all the time. So I'm kind of like doing that now with Do It Again, and I really want to push that song again for Pride with like the new vocal and the new kind of like emotional connection, because at the time when I was making that, it was so real. Like I literally just got out of that crazy situation,
Mm-hmm.
like crazy abusive relationship, and I think my emotional spirit was drained. And I think I can hear it in the song where I'm like, I'm not able to reach as deep vocally, and I want to revisit that. So I'm gonna be pushing to release that for before Pride, and kind of have that song be the vision I had, because the music video is so like incredible and I am so proud of where it ended up. And so that's something I'm working on,
Mm-hmm.
and in the meantime, just I'm gonna try to keep releasing, as often as I can, because I think
Nice.
ultimately I'm just at a point where I'm like, I got my vibes. I've kind of built my little mini label that is me. I'm just gonna keep
Yeah.
going with that because that's all we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I
But yeah,
mean, if it works for you, it's sounding good, so I would keep on doing what you're doing.
yeah. And that's the thing, like we live in such different times that there's no one path for anything anymore.
Yeah.
So, which is like scary, but also kind of liberating, you know? So
Yeah.
we'll see. Just trying to keep a positive attitude.
Yes.
It's all we
Yes.
can do.
Yeah.
So,
Are there any like smaller artists or collaborators that you'd want to highlight?
yeah, sure. My friend True Perone, I went to school with her. She's been like really elevating her art, and she's getting into like these very filmic looks. It's TRU and then space Pierone. If it's Italian, it's like Pirone, Pirone or Pironi, but True Pironi or Perone. I don't know what she's going by. But she just released a song. It'd be cool for people to check her out. She's a great vocalist, a great storytelling. It's like more like folk. She released a song that I love. It's called Slowly. So she released a song called That's Enough most recently. It's beautiful. But the one I love is like a black and white cover called Slowly, and it's got this beautiful "If I could, then I would." It's like this very beautiful melody. So shout out my friend.
Nice.
Shout out my friend True,
We
doing the good
will.
work. He's in Brooklyn. We went to opposite
Okay.
sides of the country. So
Nice.
there we
We'll
go.
check her out.
Um, well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I like to blab, so this is perfect. Yeah, keep on doing the good work, and I think it's a really I love the concept. I love the pop quiz section. So
Thank you.
keep it going, and I really appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode. Go stream and listen to Nate Owen's song, Safe Space, as I'm here in Tanner's Safe Space. As always, have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Well, hopefully you'll see me next time. Anyways, bye guys!